Hi there guys, welcome back. So there's a story circulating that from next season that the Premiership will make the jump, ring fence, no relegation, and actually maybe bump up their league to 14 teams. Now why do I think this now has some real reason that it will go ahead? I think this is imminent. I think the stars have aligned and they've got themselves a good excuse, a good cover story as well. Now, we've been talking about this for a while. I think I've made a video on it a while ago about the positives and the negatives. But essentially, we've got the pandemic. There's financial problems with all the teams. We know that if the Premiership teams did not have the threat of relegation, they'd be much more stable financially. You can invest more. You wouldn't have to worry so much. But that's true. You know, there's some validity there. But it's kind of the perfect cover, whereas the real reason that I think the Premiership really want to ring fence is money. Okay, they could get 14 teams in to play in the Premiership, no one ever gets relegated, and you could market it as that 14. It doesn't change. Investors know what's coming. They can invest in the league as a whole, and they can invest in clubs with complete security. Their money is fairly safe. Now, why now? Well, Saracens should come up next year, and as we can see from Ealing just beating Saracens, even though I know it's a shadow of Saracens of old, that team or any experience, but it's still a statement. We know Ealing have got lots of money. They're in southwest London sort of area. We know teams can do pretty well there. You've got Harlequins there. You used to have Richmond. And London Welsh, who has also had times in the top league. And it's in London. It's a good area, obviously, to make money, to market for rugby. There is a good market there. Wasps have moved out of London as well, which frees up, I guess, another space potentially. But Ealing could hack it financially. We know Saracens can as well. 14's the perfect number to have in a league. We obviously see it in other leagues around the world doing really well. And if you have that 14, I think the Premiership think that they are financially secure and it would work. And there's no one really else knocking on the door in that status. So you wouldn't particularly be excluding clubs who are financially viable. Ealing could have timed it just right, to be honest. And then they'd shut the door and then they'd have their lovely product that they could sell. Clearly, that's not great for teams in the future who are ambitious to try and get up to the Premiership, because once it happens, I can't see them letting the drawbridge back down unless one of the teams drastically underperforms and loses all its money and there's a viable alternative. So I think this is kind of a one-way street here. So it might be covered by reasons around the pandemic and financial problems, but I think the long game is the real reason that I've just outlined there. So I think we'll get a Premiership 14 eventually of Bath, Bristol, Ealing, Exeter, Gloucester, Harlequins, Leicester, London Irish, Newcastle, Northampton, Sale, Saracens, Wasps and Worcester. It would be very, very strong. It would make a lot of money. And there are positives, of course. The attractiveness of the rugby should increase. With no threat of relegation, you absolutely should see teams play a little bit more rugby. Give their younger players a go more readily, rotate their squad, rest their bigger players a little bit more. So it should actually make for better rugby. It should give the national team more players to pick from, obviously more teams, but if you get younger players involved more early, you also get more players that way. As long as they, are careful with keeping their incentives for young English players in those teams. So, it's a big win for those 14 clubs. It's a bit of a lose for everyone else, especially ambitious teams to come. But hey, that's pro sport. Money talks. I see the stars absolutely aligning, and I think this is going to happen. They want to make sure that Saracens and Ealing come up, and if those two don't, if they muck up and those two aren't the top two, that could be a big problem. But if they can get that 14, they shut the drawbridge, and Premiership Rugby get their perfect product that they've always wanted. I'm sure that the execs of Premiership Rugby know this is the time. Now's the time. They've got 14 viable clubs and they want to keep them. Anyway guys, let me know if I'm being too cynical. I just see this as too perfectly aligned with the cover reason for it not to happen. But hey, Let me know. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'm making the bold prediction now. It's going to happen from next year. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you next time.